So basically, what I was thinking was, oh fuck, I can't believe you've done this. No, um, I think in lieu of everything, it'll just be the sense of okay, what happened last week, what's happening next week, very briefly, and then just kind of putting everything in perspective. It is recapping. Tired of this color. It's shining right in my eyes, and I hate it. Well, summer split itself has just been really weird in general, top to bottom. It really doesn't make any sense at all. To start things off, Evil Geniuses and Immortals went to the Rift, where EG's been trying to climb up the ranks, kind of stuck in the middle of the pack, and Immortals is just trying to get out of last place. Hooney showed us that Gangplank respect bans are necessary, and that's why people banned that against him, which they did not this time around. Sven Skaren really helped him out through the early game as well, and then at the end, Bang on Aphelios just popped off, absolutely, and kind of decimated the entire other team, and it didn't even matter at all. EG had basically all objective control, and they looked pretty good against a team, albeit in last place. So that was a good statement win for them, but they're still kind of stuck in the middle of the pack. Segue, boom. In a surprising pick between Team Liquid and FlyQuest, Solo picks Renekton into a Kennen, which is weird, but if you're comfortable with it, by all means go for it. And he established dominance very early on for himself. He got a solo kill, and then after that, the rest of the map just broke open because of it. All of early and mid game was just in complete control from FlyQuest. Team Liquid was always just playing a step behind because of the fact that the jungle and top laner got ahead early. And then after that, Wild Turtle just got huge, and he was just able to scale up for free and was farming efficiently, was getting lifesteal, and had everything he needed, and eventually just led to the slow roll of the victory for FlyQuest over Team Liquid in a surprising turn, really helping FlyQuest sort of assert themselves towards the top of the leaderboard. But the difference is that Liquid just still looks like they're on another level compared to virtually everyone else aside from Cloud9. Flash forward to Saturday, action started with meddling CLG against a 100 Thieves team that looks like they're improving and they're getting better, bringing in a couple of the academy players. Contracts really made a statement early by punishing Wiggly and really never let up, which kind of seems to be a common trend against CLG. And they seem to be very lackluster in plays around neutral objectives like Heralds and Dragons, and it really cost them a lot leading up to this point. They've seen a lot more success, granted, this split than we saw in Spring Split, but it was a point of something is still not clicking right with CLG, and 100 Thieves were just doing so well with virtually everything else, which was a little disappointing in the sense of CLG probably should have done better in this game than they did. And of course, with just counter jungling, the league leader himself, Contracts, his #1 in counter jungle percentage, and he really showed that, and it really played into the strength for 100 Thieves against Wiggly. And it's not to take anything away from Cody-san either, who towards mid to late game just had a point and click Ash Arrow. And that is ultimately what helped 100 Thieves lead themselves to that victory over CLG. I should have got a drink for this. Fortunately, there's a fridge. And a Dr. Pepper? I don't remember putting this in this fridge. This is the greatest day of my life. Hold on. I'm so good to myself. Alright. Next game, TSM and Dignitas. Yeah, I got a question. Why would you ever ban Ribbon against Viper? Not like he plays that champion or anything. Okay. Surprisingly, Ribbon got banned against Viper. And why would you ever expect Doublelift, one of the greatest North American ADCs, to just win lane by himself? Would never happen. He's not good. He's washed up. Well, he did it again. Because Dignitas once again was just, alright, I'm gonna head out. And they didn't do anything at all for the entire game. And they're really looking like CLG, honestly. If you want to put a comparison to it, they look like CLG, where they're not putting anything together. They're not actually making any proactive plays. They're playing very laid back, very reactive, trying to make capitalization on something that's just not there. Really not sure what's going on in the strategy room there for Dignitas, but it's obviously not working out for them. Granted, this is TSM, who is a really good team, so it's not easy to be able to do that, but TSM just was in complete control, was in the driver's seat for the entire duration of this match. They got Dragon Soul at 22 minutes. They got Baron a minute later after they were able to reset and then go to Baron immediately. And then they just go down mid and win the game in 25 minutes. There was really nothing about that game at all that Dignitas was just missing ping. TSM wins. FlyQuest and Golden Guardians was in a really close back and forth match. And then at 31 minutes, this fight happens, where Golden Guardians misses all of the engage. Wild Turtle is able to just kite long enough for PoE to eventually show up to the fight, and then put a lot more damage down. Damonte leaves and then comes back, and then teleports back into his death. They all run it down. It's a 3-for-2 trade, gives them Baron at the end of the day, and then FlyQuest gets victory of the fight. Even closer, a few minutes later, going in to steal the Dragon Soul was not enough against them, and PoE and Wild Turtle just did way too much damage. FlyQuest really was just able to really ramp it up, scale very well, keep themselves relevant to the end of the game, and PoE on Azir was insane, and naturally so. They're able to split and let them just walk it down at that point and take the win. And finally, and I say that like it hasn't been happening all split long, but Week 6 was weird. Week 7, Cloud9, the Cloud9 is finally back in action, looking like Cloud9 against the Immortals. Granted, it's Immortal. Okay, I get it. It's Immortals. They're in last place. It's fine. Licorice and Blabber just completely bullied Apollo. They did not let Apollo play the game at all, and they just said, okay, sit down, you're going to fall behind, you're going to stay behind, and they're going to make sure of it. And then they did, and Apollo did not get to have any fun at all. Niski on Galio just gets to press R. He's not even worried about that at any point. He can just say, oh, yep, okay, I'm here for the fight, and we win the fight. And it was just a really commanding presence that they had across the entire map. And Sven was just scaling all game long, and that snowball started early because of the fact that Apollo just got bullied time and time again. Immortals had a real lack of damage. Because everyone else fell behind, they didn't really have a front line to be able to stop anyone else. And once they lost one of the carries, the mid or the ADC, there was just nothing they could do. Xmithy could not match Blabber's presence. Alorum and Hakuho just did not get big enough on the front line to hold down anything or peel. And then, like I said, once the mid or the ADC, Insanity or Apollo died, there was no damage left over. And ultimately, game over. Cloud9 with an emphasis win, looking like Cloud9 once again. Alright, Sunday kicking off with Dignitas and EG. EG being 2-1 since bringing the Swole Bros back, adding Golden Glue and Huni into the starting lineup, and they were doing very well in that ambition as they took to complete control over the jungle objectives in the early game. They got 2 dragons and both heralds before 15 minutes, but ultimately that level of confidence would lead to their downfall because of the fact that they just kind of overextended. And then Avramu is still a really good support. People say he's washed up. He made the difference with his Blitzcrank plays, catching players out, and Dardox Graves was just getting really big and having his way with the rest of the team. Dignitas playing the long con, and then with the threat of Phoenix on Orianna, who ended like 7-1 with a huge bounty, and Dardox Graves with like 9-2, Phase Rush, just running people down, not even worried about it. They would come away with the win over EG in a surprising turn of events that really just adds to the complexity, not the team complexity, but the complexity of what is the middle of the rankings in LCS. No one knows. The next match was arguably match of the week because while no one knows what's going on in the middle of the pack, we know what's going on at the top, and that is Cloud9 and Team Liquid, who would face off again here. This is a time where Cloud9 would say this is a game they have to win. They are very concerned about first place. They want that first place pick. They want to be able to choose who they're playing when it comes to playoffs. And they lied. They drafted a team composition that had not been done in this split by any team, and it was experimental for them. But that is the big brain 200 IQ play because of the fact you don't know what's going on With the rest of the league, the best competition that you have is Team Liquid. And if you're going to try something out, try it out against a team that is going to absolutely punish you for any mistakes and a team that's going to offer a lot of competition. So that's exactly what they did, and that's the Big Brain 200 IQ play. It started out very well for them. They had a lot of heals, they had a lot of shields, and they were doing very well. Hecarim was able just to roll over the rest of the team, and then it hit a certain point where something just, they plateaued. It just hit a plateau where there was nothing that they could really do. So Cloud9, they had immaculate team play. They were always in rotation. Someone was always close by to be able to prevent a pick or prevent any ganks or anything like that. And they were doing phenomenally with their team composition. And they were in complete control, had the lead in virtually every fashion. But then all of a sudden, all at once, the hook happens. Core JJ is a god among men. Hit this clutch hook onto Sven's Sona. Sona's deleted from the fight, and then after that, it's just a complete Team Liquid game where they take Baron, 5 towers, win every skirmish that wasn't a full 5-on-5, which is where Cloud9 would really win out because of just what their team composition was, and ultimately, Team Liquid just finishes the game and beats Cloud9, leaving them tied for first place. The follow-up for everything else is the letdown. The long-standing rivalry of CLG and TSM followed suit of the two top fraggers facing off, and CLG once again putting Wiggly in position on the pedestal to say, you are the one that is going to be responsible for carrying this game. And it's not worked, really, consistently enough to be confident in that, if you ask me. But that's just my hearsay as a CLG fan, but that's not the point. They would give up first drag and Herald. Well, they would start Herald, and then it would get stolen away by Spica, and they would still not do anything for that. They didn't get any punishment on TSM for that. They didn't take any objectives. They didn't take any towers. They didn't get a kill on the Herald steal or anything like that. TSM just got away scot-free. And Bjergsen just built up a CS difference in mid lane that really would emphasize his presence on the rest of the game. Mid game for CLG was better. They would arguably start getting trades, getting kills, taking objective for objective, take one, you take one. And it was a really good back and forth between TSM and CLG for a bit. And then something happened at 27 minutes where all of a sudden CLG just gets this breath of life. And they take Dragon, and then we're in relatively a good position to start to take control of the game. But over the next 5 minutes, they just didn't do enough. TSM sets themselves up for the Dragon Soul. As we all know, Ruin was late on his teleport, and at that point, Double Lift is activated, and they just win from there. And that's about all it is. TSM just finally taking control, looking like TSM probably should, against a team like CLG, who is still trying to find an identity. And to close out the day's action, Golden Guardians on 100 Thieves squared up in a game that had two teams currently on the rise in the rankings, and FBI, statistically speaking, is either first or second in every virtually measurable category as an ADC. So it's always looking up for Golden Guardians because they have that solidarity in the bot lane. Plus, it's always Tanner time. Oops. Demonte would survive this 4-man gank in the mid lane, which would use a lot of resources on him and him alone, and he's able to just walk away from that, which would then give them, as Golden Guardians, the opportunity to go take Dragon, to go down bot lane, drop Herald, and get a couple plays off of that, and really start to put them ahead in this game. Closer quite literally ran over this game as Olaf, showing a good reason why everyone is either pick ban on Olaf. He could do whatever he wanted. Closer had no repercussions whatsoever. He could press R, run in 1v5, the rest of the team would show up, and he would survive, and they would win the fight. And by the end game, Golden Guardians is so confident of what's happening in the sense of FBI can literally go melee range with Lee Sin, win the fight, and Lee Sin does literally 0 damage. Check the charts. 0 damage. So Golden Guardians are really stepping up to the plate here. They looked confident. They looked good. They looked like a team that was in control of this for the entire time. And apparently, as Huhi so eloquently put it, that's exactly what they were aiming for.
Yeah, after yesterday's game, we were talking like as a team, and we decided to play more confidently and not really care about like the outcome and be confident on our own play. And I think it showed pretty well in this game.
So, with the standings from this week and the past results, obviously we know Cloud9, Team Liquid are tied for first place at the top of this standings. And at the bottom, you got Dignitas and Immortals, 4-10 and 3-11 respectively. And Mark Z puts it best as to where everybody stands in this split currently.
I'm like definitively our top two, that's decided. What do you feel is the next real grouping of teams?
Bottom two?
We need to see. Yeah. I mean, I think that
Moving forward, there's genuinely no good measurable hierarchy of power. We had the memes of first Cloud9's 2 through 10 question marks, and then it became 1 through 10 question marks. Well, now we have at least a little bit of a differentiation. Is that a word? Differentiation. Huh. Now we have at least a little bit of differentiation, which is a word, I googled it, between first, everyone, last. That's about it. And from there, you really can't pick out where the team is. I think because of Cloud9 doing so well against Team Liquid, they are still arguably going to be the number one team. Team Liquid obviously probably going to be up there at number 2. But then after that, it's a real question mark as to where everyone is. TSM wins out with a pretty easy week of competition. They went 2-0. FlyQuest also going 2-0 this week, but they had a harder schedule. They had to play up against Golden Guardians, who is a team that is looking significantly better and continuing on the rise. They're 7-7 currently, tied for 5th place with Evil Geniuses. After that, you got 100 Thieves and CLG. CLG just trying to figure out what is going on with an 0-2 week this week. And beyond that, 100 Thieves swapping out 4 Academy players. CLG tried it once with their top laner, didn't quite work out. They still realize there's some sort of miscommunication between their solo lane and everyone else in the game. So still not exactly figured out what their solution is. And then obviously at the bottom, Dignitas and Immortals. Dignitas coming away with a win that realistically they had no business doing against Evil Geniuses, but they still came away with a 1-1. The only teams going 2-0 this week, TSM and FlyQuest, 0-2s being CLG and Immortals. And that is about it. Right now, TSM going to be trying to put themselves in a position where they are plastered in that 3rd position. They're only 2 games behind the tie for first place, and next week they certainly have it cut out for them, as well as those 2 on top of the leaderboard. Cloud9 will be facing off against Golden Guardians, who are on the rise. Dignitas trying to stay out of last place will be facing off against Immortals next week. Cloud9 also has to face against TSM, who is trying to butt their heads into the conversation as one of the top teams in North America and a legitimate threat. And then the middle of the pack should, fingers crossed, knock on wood, start to sort itself out as to who is going to fall into the hierarchy of the playoffs moving forward. But by then, who knows? It's a whole nother week away. Anything could happen. Immortals is going to beat Cloud9. Yeah, I don't know. North America LCS doesn't make any sense. This is all I got for this week, though. Like I said, I really don't know what I'm planning on doing with this show, if this is going to be a show at all. I'm just kind of doing this in a sort of recap sort of position. Any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Leave a like if you did enjoy. I really don't put a lot of content on my YouTube. I'm going to try to start doing more. I'm going to try to start setting up an actual stream schedule, but kind of walking the wire right now. Things are a little weird in life. It's 2020. Who knows what's happening? Anyways, I'll see you later. Tune in next week for the LCS recap, VOD review, league and stuff. I don't know what I'm going to call this. I don't have an idea yet. All right, see ya.